Who were the Phoenicians? And how did a small civilization along the Mediterranean coast become one of the richest and most influential powers of the ancient world? How did master sailors, merchants, and shipbuilders leave such a deep mark across the Bible, ancient history, and the rise of powerful kingdoms? To understand the Phoenicians is to look into the heart of the ancient world's engine, a culture that didn't just inhabit the coast of the Levant, but redefined the limits of the known world. Known to the Greeks as the Phoenicians, or the Purple People, these were the descendants of the Canaanites, who occupied a narrow strip of land between the Lebanon Mountains and the Mediterranean Sea. They were not a single unified empire, but a collection of fiercely independent city-states, each rising to prominence through a combination of geographical luck and unparalleled human ingenuity. The story of Phoenicia is anchored in great cities. There was Byblos, the ancient religious capital, and a hub for the papyrus trade, so central to the distribution of writing that its name eventually gave us the word Bible. There was Sidon, often called the mother of Phoenician cities, renowned for its glass-making and skilled artisans. And then there was Tyre, the crowning jewel, an impregnable island fortress that became the undisputed mistress of the seas. These cities were hemmed in by the rugged mountains to their east, which effectively forced the people to look westward toward the horizon. They did not see the sea as a barrier, but as a highway. They became the greatest mariners of antiquity, mastering the art of celestial navigation and utilizing the North Star, which the Greeks would later call the Phoenician Star, to traverse the open waters long before other civilizations dared to leave the sight of the shoreline. Their dominance was fueled by two primary commodities that the rest of the world craved. The first was the cedars of Lebanon, massive, durable, and fragrant trees that grew in the mountains above their cities. In a world where wood was the primary material for both naval fleets and royal palaces, the Phoenicians held the keys to the finest timber on earth. The second was a status symbol like no other, the Tyrian purple dye. Extracted drop by drop from the glands of the murex sea snail, this dye was incredibly labor-intensive to produce, making it more valuable than its weight in gold. To wear Phoenician purple was to declare oneself a king or a god, and this monopoly on luxury brought wealth beyond measure into the coffers of Tyre and Sidon. This wealth and craftsmanship eventually brought the Phoenicians into a historic alliance with the Kingdom of Israel. During the reign of King Solomon, a profound partnership was forged with King Hiram of Tyre. Solomon recognized that to build a dwelling place for the God of Israel that reflected his glory, he needed the best the world had to offer. Hiram supplied the cedar and the juniper, and more importantly, he sent master craftsmen and architects to Jerusalem. The first temple, the architectural marvel of the biblical world, was built with Phoenician timber and designed with the help of Phoenician skill. This era of cooperation represented a golden age of diplomacy, where trade and shared goals created a bridge between the spiritual mission of Israel and the industrial might of the Phoenicians. However, the influence of Phoenicia was not always a blessing. Over time, the relationship shifted from one of mutual respect and trade to one of spiritual corruption. The most infamous symbol of this shift was Jezebel, the daughter of Baal, the king of the Sidonians. When she married King Ahab of Israel, she brought with her the aggressive cult of Baal and Asherah. No longer was Phoenicia just a trade partner. It became a source of religious infection. Jezebel sought to systematically dismantle the worship of Yahweh, replacing it with the fertility rites and child sacrifices associated with the gods of her homeland. This cultural collision led to one of the most dramatic confrontations in the Bible on the heights of Mount Carmel. There, the prophet Elijah stood alone against the 450 prophets of Baal, challenging them to a test of fire. The victory of Elijah and the subsequent drought were not just judgments on Israel, but a direct rebuke to the Phoenician gods who were believed to control the rain and the harvest. As the centuries passed, the Phoenicians expanded their reach even further, founding colonies across the Mediterranean, including the mighty Carthage in North Africa. They gave the world the alphabet a revolutionary system of writing that moved away from complex hieroglyph to a phonetic system that would eventually evolve into the Greek, Latin, and English scripts we use today. Yet, with this immense cultural and economic power came a profound sense of pride. The merchants of Tyre began to see themselves as princes of the earth, believing that their wealth and their island's natural defenses made them untouchable. This hubris did not go unnoticed by the prophets of Israel. The prophet Isaiah spoke of Tyre as the crowning city whose merchants were princes. Yet he warned that the Lord of hosts intended to stain the pride of all glory. The prophet Ezekiel was even more specific, delivering a haunting and detailed lamentation against the king of Tyre. Ezekiel described the city as a perfect ship that would eventually be shattered in the heart of the seas. He rebuked the ruler of Tyre for saying in his heart, "I am a god, I sit in the seat of the gods." Ezekiel's prophecy was not just a general warning. It was a precise blueprint of the city's destruction. He foretold that the very dust of the city would be scraped away, and its stones and timber would be cast into the midst of the waters. The fulfillment of these prophecies arrived with the rise of Alexander the Great in 332 BC. After the island city of Tyre refused to surrender, Alexander performed a feat of engineering that seemed impossible. He took the ruins of the old mainland city, the very stones, timber, and dirt, and built a massive causeway or mole through the sea to reach the island fortress. Just as Ezekiel had predicted centuries earlier, the city was scraped bare, and its components were cast into the water to facilitate its own downfall. The fall of Tyre marked the end of an era, proving that no fortress is high enough, and no treasury is deep enough to withstand the judgment of the Almighty. The legacy of the Phoenicians is a complex tapestry of brilliance and tragedy. They were the pioneers of the sea, the architects of the temple, and the teachers of the alphabet. Yet their story serves as a profound spiritual reflection for all generations. It is a warning about the seductive nature of materialism and the danger of spiritual compromise. The Phoenicians achieved everything the world defines as success: unprecedented wealth, global influence, and technological mastery. Yet they lacked the one thing that could provide a lasting foundation: a humble recognition of the source of all blessings. As we look back at the ruins of Tyre and Sidon today, we see the remnants of a civilization that built its house on the shifting sands of commerce and pride. Their story reminds us that while skills and resources can build a temple, they can also build an idol. True greatness is not found in the purple robes of kings or the gold of distant lands, but in the alignment of our hearts with the eternal. The Phoenicians left a mark on history that can never be erased, but their ultimate fall teaches us that wealth without wisdom and power without piety is but a fleeting shadow. Thank you for journeying through this history with us. If you want to dive deeper into the historical and spiritual mysteries of the ancient world, don't forget to subscribe to Bible Stories and Insight.